Chrissy in New Haven about overeaters. Yes, Chrissy.
Hey, well, I'm in Indiana, not in New Haven, but anyway, I just want to say props to you for getting out there and talking about it, because you know what? When I was 366 and said, "What's wrong with you, baby? Can I help you?" My ex-husband just would go out and buy me food.
Yeah, enabling, yeah.
Yeah, and the worst part, I think the worst absolute part is you have to eat.
Sure.
Eating is a social activity. For crying out loud, they give you a break at work so you can go do it.
Yeah.
But, you know, if it's drugs, well, stay away from the dealer, man. If you're drinking, don't go to the fucking bar. Don't walk down that aisle at the store.
Right.
But if it's food, oh, hell no, you're just a fat pig, you're a piece of crap, nobody cares.
And people do, like, your thing says that people look at you like it's easy. And again, I've been guilty of that too. Even though I know as an addict how hard addiction is, I've been guilty of going, quit fucking eating. And at times that's true. But at times it's a lot deeper than that.
You know how mean people are to you about this? I mean, I work seriously with people who would no more use the N-word than they would cut off their own hand. But our lawnmower man is a big guy, and they're sitting there, hey, look at Tubby, look at that, blah, blah, blah. And I'm looking at you, I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you people? Who raised you? You know, you don't call people out of their name like that. You would no more call somebody, you know, hey, Stumpy, you're short, or Baldy, or whatever.
First of all, I would say all of those things. But yeah, I know what you mean. And I think part of the problem, at least my problem with when I've had that shitty attitude towards people who are really fat or over, is not like when somebody says, like, God damn it, I'm caught in this addiction and it's hard, I'm immediately empathetic towards them. I immediately root for them. The problem is there comes this, like, I guess what's annoyed me over the time is when people who are 500 pounds sue the airline because the seats aren't big enough. Like,
well, and I think, you know what, I can see that. I've heard that, and I thought, well, you are what you are. If you know you got to buy 2 seats, then. But then again, on the flip side, why should they have to? If that's how it is, if you're a big person, does that make you any less of a person? Does that give them a right to dehumanize you and make you feel like even more of a freak than everybody in society does?
No, Chrissy.
And they make you feel terrible.
But you see, Chrissy, right there.
I flew when I was 366 pounds, and I've flown when I'm 170 pounds. And I will tell you what, it was a real nice thing not having to ask for a seatbelt extension.
But listen to what you just said. Hold on. Listen to what you just said. Immediately, you said, like, yeah, but is that their right to treat them like less of a person? Like, literally, if someone is that big, what they are doing, it's not that they're less of a person. It's that their addiction is affecting the 2 people sitting next to them or the 1 person next to them. Meaning, you're not making them feel like less of a person if you're saying, hey, be addicted, but your addiction can't affect the other people on the plane.
But shouldn't the airline say, okay, you're over this certain size, you get 2 seats, or we have bigger seats?
So the airline.
Have you been to, like, what is it, Busch Gardens in Florida? They actually have on the ride, I kid you not, there is one in every row of, like, the big roller coaster we went on for people who are big. If they have a bigger chest or a bigger gut or whatever.
Right.
You get to ride in this special seat.
Let me answer your question, Chrissy. No, I don't think the airline should do that. Believe me, no one has bigger problems with the fucking airlines than I do. I don't think the airline, which is a business, should have to lose revenue because somebody has a food addiction. In the same way, should they put a little room in the back because people are alcoholics and they say, hey, you might get out of control on the plane? Like, if you're an alcoholic...
But me sitting there, when I was that big, me sitting there is not endangering anybody. It's making somebody else uncomfortable.
Yes.
Maybe I don't want to sit next to a stinky person, but they don't do anything about that. Maybe I don't want to sit next to a drunk, and I go, damn, you smell like the floor of a strip club.
So basically...
They don't do anything about that. Everybody's different. And when you go out of your way to single people out because of a difference they have, that's discrimination. Everything people sue the airline.
Everything you've just said is exactly why I've been unempathetic towards people who are really... what you've just done is justify every bit of bullshit that people do. Now, you can have an addiction. People who are very overweight have a food addiction. But all you've just done is sat there and justified why somebody shouldn't have to pay for 2 seats when the bottom line is their addiction is what's fucking causing them to need 2 seats.
Yes, but just because somebody's addicted to food, their addiction's on the outside. Crackhead's addiction on the inside. A drunk's addiction on the inside.
But if your addiction...
Somebody's addicted to porn on the inside.
But if you... Okay, fair enough.
Somebody else is on the outside.
So if you're a sex addict...
Hold
on. If you're a sex addict, should you be able just to jerk off on the plane? You're not endangering anybody. So
okay,
basically,
I'm not eating on the plane either.
What's that?
I'm not eating on the plane either. I'm not feeding my addiction on the
Okay,
plane.
you know what, Christy? I'm not going to argue with you. You're right. You're right. Everyone else should be inconvenienced by your addiction. You're correct. What you want is more important.
Anyone else should be
No. Yes, you are saying that.
People feel bad because of it,
or
to single them out or discriminate against them.
That's not discrimination. If they say you have to buy 2 seats because you're too big to fit in one, that's not discrimination. It's not discrimination.
Yeah.
Of course, you're going to say that because it was your addiction. Well, I'm a recovering alcoholic and I'm a recovering drug addict, and I'm saying that if you flag people from drinking on the airline, or if their behavior is unruly, or if they're doing something that interferes with somebody else's comfort on the plane, then fuck their addiction. That's the price you pay for being an addict. You get thrown off the plane. The price you pay for your food addiction, maybe one of the things that will help you go after and fight your addiction or get help for your addiction, is the inconvenience it causes you. It's not discrimination if you're too fucking big to fit in the seat. Why don't they just make the seatbelts bigger? How about that? Is that discrimination?
Maybe they should.
Yeah.
Maybe they should.
Absolutely.
Everybody's different.
Absolutely. Everybody's different.
Do they pack you into a seat if you're super skinny? I mean, that would gain.
No. Hey, keep justifying it. Keep justifying it. All you're doing is reinforcing.
You've never stood somewhere. If you haven't been there, you've never stood somewhere and had people point and laugh at you. You've never been the victim of such ridicule for something that, honestly, it was a real.
No, Chrissy, I understand that, but because that's happened, you cannot then wipe out all of the legitimate things that you bring on yourself. You can't wipe out the legitimate times people go, hey, your weight is an issue here. You see, the whole country is not pointing and laughing at you, ha ha, fatty, when they say you have to buy 2 seats because you're too big. And you can't lump a bunch of schoolyard dummies or even mean adults in with an airline who is doing something saying, look, you're just too big. If they do it in a dignified fashion, and I don't think they should get over the speaker, well, Fatso and aisle 3 show up, but I do think they have the right to say that if I purchase a seat and your big fucking fat ass is in my seat, I have every right to be angry about that. Just like you have every right, if I'm drinking and fucking putting my face in your seat, to be bothered by that.
But see, I think that's kind of the cost of doing business if you're planning on close confined travel. You can't get away from it. There's going to be people you don't want to sit next to. There's people.
Right. Well, then how about you accept the cost of doing...
Why don't you start suing the airlines if you get some turbulence?
How about this?
Same kind of thing.
How about the cost of doing business for continuing to feeding your addiction and to continuing to not get help is that sometimes you got to pay more on the airline. Why should everybody else take the hit? Why don't you take the hit? Why isn't the cost of business on you?
Does that mean that you're denied travel?
No,
because
not at all.
Pretty much what it boils down to a lot of times is you have to get from point A to point B. Oh, well, we don't have 2 seats for you, so you're screwed. So
you would rather have people around you inconvenienced instead of you being inconvenienced when it's your addiction? Are you that self-centered?
No, but that's part of life. People inconvenience you all the time. People cut you off.
Sure.
People sit you. People burp at you. I mean,
absolutely.
It's part of the deal.
Sure. Their inconvenience is a part of life. Your inconvenience, even though you're the one contributing to your own addiction.
But do you think it's comfortable for somebody that big being jammed into that little seat trying to squish away from the person next to them?
No, but I think that person should address their own addiction.
They need.
Listen to yourself. You're everything, Chrissy. You're making every anti-fat person point I've ever made is exactly in what you're saying. You have just reinforced every irritation I've ever had. What you say, I feel zero empathy for you.
But that's because you haven't been.
Don't tell me why I feel a certain way. That's not why it is. If you were an alcoholic, Christy, I'm going to hang up on you. You keep talking.
You would be different.
Bullshit. If you were talking right now about drinking, and I drink, and why can't I be fucking loud on the plane? That's life. I would be disgusted with you. Don't tell me that's why, because I'm not fat. You're not saying something that people don't understand.
Well, but it's a passive thing. It's not an aggressive, active, in your face. I'm doing this to piss you off. It's who and what
Okay, hey,
you are.
you keep feeding that addiction, and you keep fucking blaming everybody else for reacting to it. We have to go because we are actually out of time. I apologize to Ron and Fez for going late. So, Chrissy, thank you for the enraging phone call, but I will say that you have made me, everything you said was every reason I criticize people who are overweight. Zero responsibility for your own shit. Take responsibility for yourself. And if it was drinking and drugs, I'd say the same thing. When my addiction affects other people, then fuck me, it's my fault. It's my responsibility. All right, well, thank you, everybody, for the calls. We have a full phone line. I apologize to all the people we didn't get to. I'm sure Twitter really loved her. But, you know what? It's fucking enraging, this woman. How irritating. But I'm happy she lost the weight. Good for her. All right, guys, I will see you tomorrow. Stay around for Ron and Fez.